Good afternoon, friends. This video to highlight important changes in GST rate for specified services effective from October 1, 2021. It is in order to adhere the recommendation made by GST Council in their 45th GST Council meeting held on 17th of September 2021. So service GST rate notification 11/2017 got amended, while notification number 6/2021 central taxes rate dated 30th September 2021 but effective from October 1, 2021. The first one, wherever it is being mentioned for charitable trusts registered under section 12AA of Income Tax Act 1961, it got amended with reference to section 12AB of IT Act 1961. जहाँ पे भी 12AA लिखा हुआ है वहाँ पे अब अमेंडमेंट हुआ और 12AB of IT Act 1961 का रेफरेंस भी डाल दिया गया. Second, temporary or permanent transfer or use or enjoyment of intellectual property right pertaining to software 18% applicable tha, and all other goods it was 12% applicable. Now it is rationalized and made 18% uniformly for IP right of software and IP right of all other goods, 18% leviable from October 1, 2021. Third, job work in relation to manufacturing of alcoholic liquor for human consumption. It was 5% leviable, now going to be leviable at the rate of 18%, effective from October 1. Next, services by way of printing of all goods under chapter 48 or chapter 49, like printing of newspaper, books, journals, etc. Now GST rate changing from 12% to 18% from October 1, 2021. Next, entry number 34 in service rate notification for Roman 3, item number Roman 3 and Roman 3A getting substituted. So Roman 3 talks about services by way of admission to theme park, water park, or any kind of joyride, go round, go karting, now taxable at the rate of 18%. Roman 3A talked about services by way of admission to casino, race club, or any sports event like IPL, Indian Premier League, GST rate going to be applicable at the rate of 28%. So these are the important highlight for changes in GST rate for specified services from October 1, 2021. The important point which I want to draw here, rate is changing from October 1, 2021. So we have problem and we have difficulty to determine what is the rate applicable, old rate versus new rate. Let's take an example like that temporary or permanent transfer or use or enjoyment of IP right pertaining to any goods. Old rate was 12%, but now it is 18% from October 1, 2021. हमें चैलेंज आता है कि कौन सा रेट लगेगा, पुराना या नया. There are three situations and where we have to identify what is the rate going to be applicable, and wherever there is change in rate for supply of goods or services, we need to go back to the provision of section 14 of CGST Act. And section 14 start with the non-obstante clause, notwithstanding anything contained in section 12, time of supply for goods, Section 13, time of supply for services. So non-obstante clause, section 14 is talking about what is the rate, time of supply going to be applicable and corresponding rate applicable wherever there is change in rate for supply of goods or services. In GST, there are three important events which is giving a input what would be the time of supply either for goods or for services. One is supply itself, supply of goods or services. Another one is date of receipt of payment. And third, date of issuance of invoice, so date of invoice. If you go back to section 14, it is saying in simple terms, if 2 out of 3, so date of supply, date of receipt of payment and date of invoice, 2 out of 3 happening prior to October 1 when change in rate is being announced, then old rate applicable, 2 out of 3 prior to change in rate. If 2 out of 3 happening after October 1, 2021, then the new GST rate 18% applicable as per the example which I have taken for the clarity purpose. Now, what is the time to issue invoice is also relevant when you go back to section 14 for determining time of supply and corresponding GST rate, old versus new rate. आपको section 31 में भी जाना है. Section 31 subsection 1 talks about when registered person is supposed to raise the tax invoice. So registered person must raise tax invoice on or before supply of goods, where supply involves movement of goods. In all other cases, when date of delivery of goods are made available to the recipient. This is a provision pertaining to supply of goods for raising invoice. What about services? Services invoice can be raised even prior to the provision or post provision, post supply of services, but within stipulated 30 days. In case of banking, NBFC, non-banking financial company or financial institution, it is 45 days. So invoice can be raised even prior to the provision of service for raising invoice for supply of services. Now in this given situation, I'm creating example for you and highlighting where the litigation are and where dispute and confusion are. First one, let's say supply made for services prior to October 1, supply already made. You are getting payment and you are raising invoice after October 1. So 2 out of 3 happening after October 1, new rate applicable, 18%. Understandable, but it can be disputed and litigated. Supply is taxable event, which has happened prior to October 1. So taxable event is the important milestone for levy, and prior to October 1 it was 12% GST leviable. Just because invoice and payment received after October 1, whether the new GST rate applicable, and it's a matter of 6% differential. So correspondingly you have to see the pricing also. Take another example. Let's say invoice raised prior to October 1 with the old rate 12%. But you are getting paid and supply, both are happening after October 1. So 2 out of 3 new rate applicable, right? 18%. But you have raised the invoice prior to October 1 with 12% GST rate. Now just because you got paid after October 1 and you are making supply after October 1, new rate applicable, 18% applicable. So what you have to do? You have to raise differential, supplementary invoice or debit note for differential 6% GST rate. So change in rate for supply of goods or services is important for determining time of supply so as to discharge correct GST. Section 14 read with section 31 going to be important. And there may be number of example We can carry on giving those examples, but I have made this brief video to highlight if you are reading change in rate for supply of goods or supply of services. Importantly, you have to go back section 14, which is starting with a non-obstantly clause, notwithstanding anything contained under section 12 and 13, but not overriding chargeable section. And read with section 31, which is the provision for raising invoice, time to raise invoice by the registered person for supply of goods and supply of services. So these provisions are going to be important and equally important to determine old rate versus new rate applicable. So this video mainly focusing on changes in GST rate for specified services. They have amended notification number 11/2017 service rate notification, and it got amended by 6/2021 central taxes rate dated 30th September 2021 but effective from October 1, 2021. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for lot many other videos on GST. Thank you very much.